evening. I'm glad you could join us today on the program, Nigeria Today. Access to energy services drives industrialization, boosts productivity and economic growth, as well as human development. As it is, 60% to 70% of the Nigerian population does not have access to electricity. The federal government has been taking strategic measures to diversify the energy sources in domestic, industrial, and commercial sectors to bridge the energy deficit. In domestic energy deficit towards towards reducing energy prices and wastages to save costs. According to the 2020 World Bank Doing Business report published in February 2021, Nigeria ranks 171 out of 190 countries in getting electricity. Access to electricity is seen as one of the major constraints, especially for the private sector, with over 200 dams across the region. The country has the capacity to generate enough electricity for its populace. Experts, however, advocate upgrading existing power plants, building new power plants, and improving transmission and distribution infrastructures. Also, diversification of energy sources by reducing the use of renewable energy sources like solar, wind, and electricity have been quoted to have the potentials of boosting power generation. However, in its bid to fast-track power supply to industrial clusters in Nigeria, the federal government has initiated a Light Up Nigeria project to boost energy supply in the country. Earlier today, the Southeast became a beneficiary of the project. I am Eukaria Clinton, and welcome to Nigeria Today. Joining the conversation for the topic Improving Power Supply is a lead researcher at Steward Asset Management Limited, Steve Mwachukwu. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thanks for having me. My pleasure.
Steve, it's really a pleasure having you. We're talking about a very, very important, issue that actually has been, one source of worry to many Nigerians. Talking about improving power supply. Now, today, like we rightly said, we saw the Southeast, the launch of the Light Up Nigeria in the Southeast. Quite a lot of persons were excited about the whole thing. Talking about some of the benefits you're going to get there. So, in your opinion, Steve, tell us how would you say about the whole Light Up Nigeria initiative?
Oh, well, first and foremost, it's a good initiative. The pace at which we are going may not be encouraging enough, but it's slow and steady. We are getting the private sector involvement, and that is the primary target. You have in mind that this very Light Up Nigeria was actually a brainchild of former President Olusegun Obasanjo when he started the Niger Delta Power Development Company. It transited to Goodluck Jonathan, down to Yaradua, now this present government. So it's a good initiative. Nigeria continued to suffer inadequate electricity supply to business, small and medium businesses, and this is the main cause of our underdevelopment. Before you can industrialize, before you can have an age in development, you must have to ensure a reliable and affordable supply of electricity, either off-grid or on the grade section. So it's a good program, it's a good initiative, but the pace at which we are going, we are not achieving much. Since 10 years or a decade and plus, we hardly can boast of 10,000 megawatts. But like I said, it's slow and steady, a good initiative, but we are yet to really achieve a higher height in the sense of the demand for electricity.
Okay, now still on that, one of the some of the priorities of this renewed hope agenda of this present administration is talking about food security, job creation, economic growth, and of course providing a level and conducive environment for companies to thrive. Now, how can we as a country maximize the benefits of this Light Up Nigeria, this project, to achieve these items on the agenda?
Most often, people often say that we don't lack good ideas. We often have beautiful ideas, Light Up Nigeria. That's how it sounds. But what is the involvement, what is the commitment of government and successive governments? This is where we have issues. You can't be talking about Light Up Nigeria when you cannot still till now after for more than 12, 15 years. You don't still have a battery manufacturing plant in Nigeria. We don't have that. How can you light up Nigeria when you don't have such kind of...
So, but Steve, we're talking about the present administration and the effort they are making. If you see the vice president going, from one of the first one was in Agbara, of course, last year. Now we are having one in the southeast, and you see the commitment. The vice president himself is at the hem of the...
I think that's the essence of this discussion. Yes. Also to either tap them at the back and congratulate them what they've done, whether it started in their regime or whether it's what they just inherited, is to tap them and make them realize the energy need of Nigeria. That's the truth. We have to tap them. Well, you're doing well. What you inherited is good. Please do more. Just like they went to COP28 the other day. A lot of agreements were signed in respect to having a bilateral so that we can have a battery manufacturing for the solar power panels that you need for the upgrade. Because Light Up Nigeria is actually to make sure that the rural, small families actually have lights. Like some of these families just need a tube, just a tube, and a couple of other electrical appliances to power. So it's not actually to get them in the grid. So it's like a substituted effort to make sure that rural and cluster of businesses have light. Take, for instance, what is being experimented and being done by the Nigerian Rural Electrification Agency. You have a couple of universities being into the business or into the experimentation. You have some of the teaching hospitals where you have some off-grid power generation using the solar panel energies. So yes, what they are doing is good, and we need such kind of funding, just like we know that the World Bank is funding most of these projects. So we need it, just like the one commissioned in Aba today, about 181 megawatt. That's enough to serve the entire Aba metropolis. So we need such of independent power projects. We have more than 8 of them. We have the ones in Calabar, the one in Yonegua, the one in Ondo, Ogun State, a good number of them. But the aspect of their little lacking is the supply of gas to most of these power plants. A good number of them are turbine plants. So you cannot have a sufficient and adequate evacuation of electricity if you cannot guarantee any program or any policies around your gas to energy. So government needs to improve on that. They have these turbines. The turbines are not working in their maximum 100% capacity because of lack of gas to power most of these turbines.
Now, still talking about this, because of course we're talking about improving the power supply. Now, in your opinion, how can this project address? You talk that there should be speed. It should be given to the project, okay? That is slow but it's steady. Before the program came on, I heard you saying something like that. Now, how can this project address challenges such as transmission losses, voltage fluctuation, and grid, and some of these, collapses we've been seeing in the grid collapse?
I think it's more of the commitment of the government, ensuring that there is a lot of investment, both private sector investment and even government investment in it. If government can, like there is an existing rehabilitation and transmission of transmission program that is going on. It's headed by the vice president through the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, and a couple of other programs of government that is think towards making sure that the transmission capacity is built. we know for sure that the generation capacity is well over 12,000. Installed generation of our entire generating capacity is well over, but we're only evacuating less than 4,000. When it hit 4,000, we all rejoice, we clap. Well, we have hit 4,000. The problem is lack of investment. That is where we need the commitment of government through bilaterals to get those experts, those with the adequate knowledge and fund to build most of our transmission. This is where we have problem. We don't have much problem in generation. Most of these turbines, most of these power generating turbines has well over 12,000 capacity, but we're only evacuating 4,000. So investment should be focused on the transmission.
No, like you said, these issues you raise are not entirely kind of new to us. We've had quite a lot of these issues. We've had experts talk about them over and over again. But with this new initiative, I want to believe that this new initiative is aimed at addressing some of these issues.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course.
So how now open our eyes to the real the benefits of this project, this Light Up Nigeria, because of course even before, like also I will always be talking about our discussion before the program. You talked so much about the project. So what are the benefits, some of the benefits of this new project, and how can it change the narrative in the power sector?
Oh, take for instance, about 180 megawatts is commissioned today in Aba, and is going to serve the entire Aba. And that means that a level of guarantee supply of energy is guaranteed. And what that means, it will escalate development. It will escalate industrialization. Good number of businesses that have been struggling because of inadequate electricity will no longer complain, because the source of their supply is guaranteed. All they needed is just adequate gas supply to the, and which I know, because it's a private sector driven, geometrics will make sure that there is an adequate supply of gas to guarantee evacuation of electricity to these consumers. So what it means that cost of doing business in those areas will come down, because they will no longer burn buying petrol or resorting to their independent power, like using the diesels and the rest. So the cost of doing business, cost of running their businesses will go down, and they will be timing. So they can actually go for a stretch 8 hours, 10 hours production of whatever sector they are in. So it's not granted that light will be available for you and it will be affordable. So a lot of benefits are bound for if we can actually improve our electricity, just like we are witnessing a couple of these very independent power plants coming up. Just like also the Rural Electrification Agency is also doing, having interface with some of these universities. A good number of them are totally off-grid. Off-grid means that they no longer depend on the national grid. Whatever is being generated within those universities where they have this experimentation I told you earlier of the solar, what it simply means, those universities, teaching hospitals is totally off-grid. They would independently depend on those solar panels to generate electricity for them. And such should be continued. A place like UTC here should have such a thing, because there is a cluster of business around. We should have such experimentation around the business centers we have. Like I mentioned, the youth list. Everybody knows the business activities, printing press and the rest that is going on. Such experimentation should also go on there, so that Nigerians and those that works within the environment can benefit. This is the essence of supplying and making sure that is a reliable electricity for such business clusters.
Okay, now still talking about improving the power supply. Now, Steve, we still have incessant cases of vandalism and corruption. How can this be checked to protect national assets and infrastructure, as well as reduce wastages?
Oh, I think it's efficiency in government management will curb the issue of wastages. Then vandalism, there are statutory agencies and paramilitary agencies of government that have been scheduled to secure our national assets, like the Nigerian Civil Defense Corps is there, and a couple of them, the police is there. So it's a question of equipping them, making sure that most of these strategic national infrastructures are well secured so that we don't have the issue of vandalism you talked about and the rest. So it's a question of these agencies of government who have been saddled with that very core duty to protect and safeguard national infrastructure should up and doing in whatever mandate they have. So there should be a demand from them to make sure that they cut off these individuals.
What are the role of we as individuals, as Nigerians, our role?
Oh yes, individuals, Nigeria, every other agencies are serving Nigerians. They are serving. So these are individuals, perhaps, which are also Nigerians who wants to sabotage those most of these national infrastructure. So the law enforcement agency at this point has to bring them to book. And I'm very sure they are doing that. And that's why we are not having issues around vandalism of our most of these national assets.
Okay, now earlier when the vice president, was launching that of the Southeast at Enugu this morning. No, he raised a pertinent issue. He said, if there is no power, he said there cannot be industrialization. And I know you mentioned that earlier. And he said, if the power sector works, he said Nigeria works too. Now, in your own opinion, you have said something about, fast tracking this initiative. Now, what would you say in terms of how soon do you think this program should start yielding results? Because Nigerians are eager.
How soon is the determination of the political leadership? I'm happy you are quoting him verbally, the commitment that power remains the architect, the driving tool that we need. Is the commitment of the government, if their commitment to it. No, which we believe. You see, the truth remains that, like I said, we are not lacking in ideas. We are not lacking in policies. It's a question of implementation. And I've seen most of their bilaterals, like the one in COPA, like the one with geometrics, and a couple of them, they have actually gone into such agreements. We also have the one in Port Harcourt going on, and most of these bilaterals, we need much of them so that we can fast track. Unfortunately, we are still talking about 12,000, 10,000 megawatts, while a country lesser in population like South Africa, with a population less than 60 million, is boasting over 65,000 megawatts, while Nigeria, with over 210 to 20 million population, is still talking about 12,000 or 10,000 megawatts, and they're only evacuating about 4,000. It's a question of determination and commitment. Once they are committed to it, they will do it. Because these foreign investors are there. They just need the genuineness of your government, desperation of your government, determination of your government to actually improve in this very area. So put up the right policies, put up the right agreements, and you see these investors are sitting. I know for sure we don't have the capacity as a nation to build most of these infrastructures that we need, mostly in the power sector, because it's capital intensive. But with good environments, you will see most of these independent power plants springing up. Like I said, as we speak, we have more than 10 or 8 functional power plants. It's a question of gas policy. Yes, we have existing gas policy of 2017. We need to review it and make sure that the gas policy actually covers most of these power plants. And we also have the issue of lack of gas pipelines. We have the KK8 started by last administration of President Muhammad Buhari, which is KKA Ajekuta, Kanu, Abuja, Kanu to Kaduna to Kanu. So such laudable projects should be in place so that you can evacuate this gas to most of these turbines so that you can open up your economy.
Okay, now tell us, what is this government doing right that you think they should, do more to ensure that we have steady?
Of course, we've not seen To be honest, we've not seen the posture of this government in gas or power generation. We only saw they just commissioned what has been built over 4 or 5 years. We need to see their posture. We need to see the much commitment beyond the bilaterals. Yes, they have a couple of bilaterals worth close to $1 billion or thereabouts in investment.
Which is a good step.
Like I said, it's a good step. Like say, slow and steady we'll get there. But we need more than that. Like he said earlier, power is the agent, is the key to industrialization, is the key to whatever we are talking about. More than 6-7 hours, Abuja had no light. If we can improve in distribution, we will not be having this off-grade and collapse of the grade and the rest of them. So we need a lot of investment. So there should be this posture of government to attract this investment. It's quite huge, and we need them. So we need to see much commitment of the government to make sure that we have much of these very independent power plants operators springing up. Like I said, it's a capital intensive, and we need a lot of private sector investment in it. And just like the one you saw in Osisoma in Aba today, it's a private sector driven. Just like the one commissioned a couple of months or yes last year, it's also private sector. The one in Calabar, the one in Yonegua, Ondo, Ogun State, name them. We have, like I said, 8 functional independent power projects. Combined capacity more than around 8,000 megawatts. Combined capacity of all of them. So we need such kind of huge investment, like what is going on in Niger Delta Power Holding Company. We still need a greater investment of government in that very agency of government, so that they can improve in the current electricity. But most importantly is the evacuation, which is the transmission. Government needs a lot of investment in that area, so that we can at least evacuate this very 10,000 install or 12,000 install capacity. So we need more of government posture, more of commitment, and more of such drives to make sure that we build or evacuate or provide electricity to Nigerians. And coupled with what is going on with the Rural Electrification Agency of Nigeria, which is the off-grid using the solar, but the only challenge is Higgs. We can't be talking about solar when we are not producing battery. You know what the exchange rate is today. I'm sure most of the existing contracts they have will collapse, because that will be demand for variations. Cost of importing most of this. So that's why there should be a bilateral that will see government. Collapse. Of course, that's our prayer. That will be variation, not that totally. Maybe if you have to, have a capacity of for 1,000, you are reducing to 700 or 800 because of the cost of, getting these varying facilities and components of the solars in Nigeria. But if you have, because we also have the raw materials, but if you have a manufacturing plant that can deal with the issue of the battery, yes, it will fast track this light up Nigeria, and it will be easy and affordable. Now it is not affordable. That is the truth. To put up a little capacity of solar is quite expensive. It's only few middlemen can afford to do it. So if government can attract such bilateral agreements or investment in manufacturing of these very batteries here, talk of the solar panels and the rest of them, that will reduce the cost of most of these components, and that will improve in whatever programs government has around the Light Up Nigerian project.
Okay. Now, having said that, so what, I know you've mentioned what more can be done, talking about long-term strategies and visions for achieving sustainable and reliable power supply across Nigeria.
The long-term must be policies around the gas to power must be reviewed, and make sure that gas processing companies will guarantee adequate supply of gas. That's where you can have investors come in, because a lot of them comes in, build the power plants, but because there is no guarantee of supply of gas, a lot of them are running at loss as we speak. Like I said, installed capacity close to 12,000, evacuation around 4,000. So most of the investment in these areas are lying fallow because there is no gas supply. So government needs to review the gas to power policies. Let's keep saying the truth remains that if we don't review it and guarantee gas to most of these power plants, we are not going anywhere. And government also needs to be decisive in improving in our electricity generation through much bilateral engagement with foreign organizations.
Thank you very much, Steve. With that, we'll wrap up today's episode of Nigeria Today. A very big thank you to Steve Mwachukwu. He's a lead researcher at Steward Asset Management Limited. Thank you so much.
Always my pleasure.
And thank you for being part of the program. Don't forget, Nigeria Today is weekday at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I am Ikaria Clinton saying goodbye.